Do you remember the Raisin Bran sun,
The Raisin
Nathan?
Bran sun. Yeah, yeah.
Yeah. Does it have sunglasses?
Uh, I I don't know if it does, but I remember that the California Raisins did. So it kind of makes me start to think maybe people associated the sun with
With the
the with
raisins?
the raisins
Or
and thought
they
that it
thought
had
he was a real
sunglasses.
cool guy?
Up next on the show, we have a delving deepest, and it feels like we've done this before, but I don't really remember where. Alex, can you help me out?
Nope.
Okay. I thought we did delving
um,
deepest.
we did something. I don't. It's been here, done that. After so many shows, it all blurs together, right?
I,
Right?
I guess so. I guess
Maybe it's
so.
just a collective delusion.
Oh, do they have a word for that?
Oh, they have a term, I think.
Oh.
On today's Delving Deepest, we actually want to discuss the Mandela Effect.
Oh, the Howie Mandela effect?
Howie Mandela Effect, the Nelson Mandela Effect, which
That too.
actually, um, for those of you who may not be aware of what the Mandela Effect is, uh, Google tells me that the Mandela Effect occurs when a person believes that their distorted memories are, in fact, accurate recollections. They can clearly remember events that happened differently or events that never occurred at all. The bottom line is that the Mandela effect does not involve lying or deception.
Right. It is mostly that your brain has played a trick on you.
It is as kind of understood, it's a collective mass misremembering.
Yeah. Things that
As it
never happened.
as
But
it tends to affect large groups of people remembering things differently than they originally were, or in conspiracy theories, alternate realities where things have changed.
was it one of the ones I kind of remember this happening with is there were a lot of people that were remembering a movie called Kazam with Sinbad in it.
Yeah, which doesn't exist.
Never happened.
Um,
Never happened at all.
I think they're thinking of the movie Shazam.
With that had the Shaquille O'Neal, if I remember
I think
correctly.
so, yeah, as
Yeah,
a genie,
right.
but
Um,
not Sinbad.
but later on, like in the '90s or I guess in the 2000s, they did like a College Humor or something thing where Sinbad actually was like doing the
Oh, no doubt.
making of Kazam or something
Back when College Humor was a thing,
around.
relevant.
It's
So,
still
so I've
around.
got a, so I have
Mhm.
a couple just questions for you and for our audience before we get into like why we're talking about this. These are from this article I found some 30 examples of Mandela effects.
Oh,
Um,
okay.
Nathan,
Yeah.
do you remember the Monopoly guy?
Um, I mean, I remember Mr. Moneybags.
Yeah, do you remember what he looks like?
Yeah, he has that little top hat. Does he
Okay,
have the top hat? And he has
okay,
the little kind of like tuxedo thing going on for him. He has a money
okay.
bag. Cause
Yep, I always got the money bag.
always got the money bag. Yeah, I'm going to guess that
Here's a
you're.
question for you though.
Yeah.
What are you gonna say?
No, I'm going to guess that you're going to tell me that I'm wrong.
Well, I have a question for you. Do you remember Mr. Moneybags? I think he has a real name, but I don't remember it. Do you remember him ever having a monocle or not having a monocle?
I don't think he had a monocle. I don't remember him having one.
Oh, that's interesting.
Okay.
He actually does not have a monocle, but a collective remembrance of this is him with a monocle. A
Right.
lot of people believe that he had one at some point in time.
Yeah. I wonder if that has something to do with like a lot of people cosplaying, and for some reason they got the monocles. Like,
I think in that case it's association with the rich,
yeah,
maybe like Scrooge McDuck type thing.
yeah.
I think Scrooge has a monocle. The brand Fruit of the Loom.
Oh, okay.
Do you know the logo for that?
It has the various fruits in it, and I believe that it's... No, it's not in like a Horn of Plenty, is it? I know that there's like grapes, and there's the apples, and I want to say there's a banana, but
No,
then
there's no banana.
I didn't
But
think
the
there was...
cornucopia, yes or
Yeah.
no? Do you think it has one? Which do you remember?
You know what? I don't think it did.
It did.
I don't think it did.
It is remembered with it
Yeah.
by some people.
I mean, the fact that I just said that I thought it might have...
Exactly.
Yeah.
Another popular one is Pikachu.
Mm-hmm.
Pikachu's tail, specifically. This one's harder to probably picture. Some people believe that the end of his tail has a black nub, like the end of it's black.
Oh, yeah.
Which is not true. Although there is a difference between male and female Pikachu's tail end being slightly different. But it's not black.
The Pikachu tail, isn't it that it has like some black striping on it?
Yeah, it doesn't have any black striping on his tail.
Okay.
Yeah.
That's a whole other Mandela effect.
Yeah. Apparently Shaggy, people believe that Shaggy from the cartoon Scooby-Doo, some people believe he has an Adam's apple.
No.
Which he doesn't in the cartoons.
No.
I assume that might be a idea from live action Shaggy. Perhaps just kind of being, oh yeah, it's Matt Lillard and it's got an Adam's apple.
Very, very prominent one, yeah.
Yeah. Here's one. Kit Kat.
Kit Kat, the chocolate bar Kit Kat?
Yeah, the crisp wafers.
The crisp wafers.
Do you remember their logo having a hyphen or not having a hyphen?
Good question.
Yeah.
I don't think it does.
It does not. You're doing great on these so far.
Okay, cool. Yeah.
Some people also believe it does. It does not have a hyphen.
Okay.
The brand Febreze.
Yep. Heard of it.
How do you spell it?
Febreze. There's only the one E, isn't there? Eze.
There is only one E.
Yeah. I know what it was. Yeah.
It's because breeze has two E's typically. So people believe that. Let's see. How about, here's a fun one. What color is C-3PO?
Like gold, brass. I think it's gold, but
yeah, he's gold brass. His entire body.
Yes. No.
His one of his legs is silver, from the knee down.
Oh, okay. Because like in the storyline, right? He was in parts, so.
Yeah, exactly.
Right.
And it's always everything. It's easier to forget that one.
Right.
Another popular one from Star Wars is misremembering the line, "Luke, I am your father."
Yeah, that didn't actually happen.
Which doesn't exist. It's "No, I am your father."
Right. Right.
The monkey Curious George. I'm just gonna tell you straight up. People apparently believe he had a tail at one point. He does not.
Doesn't have a tail. No.
He does not have a tail.
But monkeys have tails, so you would assume.
Right. Well, not all monkeys, I guess. I think he's like a chimpanzee.
Yeah. Yeah.
Do you remember the Raisin Bran sun?
The Raisin Bran sun. Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah. Does it have sunglasses?
I don't know if it does, but I like remember that the California raisins did. So it kind of makes me start to think like maybe people associated the sun with the raisins. With the raisins.
Or they thought he was a real cool guy.
Yeah, something like that. Or it was the cool spot.
Yeah. He does not.
Okay.
Have sunglasses. Looney Tunes. Here's another great one. Do you know the spelling of that one?
Yeah, it's Looney, Looney, and then Tunes is Tunes.
Yeah, exactly. Because it's merry melodies, and it used to be with the music, so it
Right.
wasn't tunes as in cartoons. It was tunes as in music.
Yeah.
Absolutely correct. People believe it the other way around, of course, because people are our brains are weird things. Here's another great one: Fruit Loops.
Yeah. Fruit Loops. Mm-hmm.
How do you spell the word fruit in Fruit Loops, Nathan?
I mean, I guess I know I'm gonna be wrong, but I thought that it was just spelled fruit. Fruit.
Nope, it's F-R-O-O-T. Fruit.
Oh.
Which explains why there's only one flavor.
Yes.
And it's cherry.
Yes. There's only one flavor, and the flavor is fruit with 2 O's.
Yeah, the flavor of Fruit Loops is cherry, in case anyone's ever wondering. But those are some just very, very popular things that are ideas from the Mandela Effect, and you remembered most of those accurately.
Perfect.
Which is great. It means either you're aware of them being things. One of the ones that is super popular in that is the Berenstain Bears or the Berenstain Bears.
Oh yeah.
Because people are like, what? No, it was totally this other thing. The reason I want to talk about this is because the idea of false memories and misremembering things is really interesting when you bring it into the concept of tabletop.
Sure.
Because your players and your characters, I should say, have a lot of past typically in your games that you don't always flesh out completely. And your party could have been together for years, for instance.
Sure.
But let's say if you wanted to do something where the party remembers something differently than the rest of the world.
Right.
You could do that.
Yeah.
It could be a huge plot point.
Oh yeah. That's also the kind of thing where I could see using, if somebody had a really good insight or perception, they might be able to suss out something that is actually different than the textually, the text actually say.
Yeah, and I was discussing this idea last night with Crave, and it was the idea that to realize something is off, you would make your perception to notice it. So in 5e, for instance, you'd go, all right, roll for perception, you pass. You can tell something is slightly off, but you're not quite sure what it is. And then you could make your wisdom roll to actually suss out what is different, for instance.
Right.
Because you have to first notice that there's something wrong to realize that you should look into it a bit harder. So something like that. Maybe, for instance, you change subtle things. What if the one town that you're using as a hub, they go to an inn, the same inn every time they come back to town, and then after so many times of making sure you say the name, oh, it's the Lion's Head. Every time you go back to the Lion's Head Inn, and then one time you change it up on them. You say,
yeah,
you head back to the Lion's Mane.
Oh yeah. Or
like,
the lying in.
Sure, anything subtly
like
different. Like,
yeah,
it's not the Lion's Head, it's Lion's Mane. And you're like, the players probably would catch on because you've set up all this before, where you've done it so many times, saying it's Lion's Head, it's Lion's Head, it's Lion's Head. Welcome back to the Lion's Head. Welcome to the Lion's Mane. They go in, they don't think about it the first time you say it. Maybe you forgot what the inn was called. But then maybe you have the barmaid be like, hey, welcome back to the Lion's Mane. We're so happy to see you, or something like that.
Yeah.
And then they're like, wait. And then you've probably got both your players and the characters going, wait.
Yeah.
Which I think is just a really interesting way you could employ the Mandela Effect, false memories, things like that in a game to make it interesting.
Yeah, because then it's a question of, like, why is that different?
Yeah, so it's like, all right, well, we need to investigate this. Obviously, you could do it throughout the entire thing and just like not tell them anything at all, like not let them notice anything, just do it very subtly in the background. Like,
Hmm.
but I think it'd be great to drop subtle details.
Sure.
Again, it doesn't work with if you have a background for a player that they not have played through, because it's like, all right, well, you have all these memories from this, but changing a memory doesn't work as well unless you then kind of bring it up later, like, oh, you've been to this town in the past, or for instance, and you notice that the sign that you thought forever said the lion's head now says the lion's mane.
Right. Right. Another interesting way that you might be able to implement that is if players pick up a book and you tell them the title of the book or what the book is, and then if they roll for insight or they want to, investigate it further, do an investigation, you just happen to mention that the book title is different. It's actually a different title, and maybe it doesn't have the same kind of content that you had.
Sure.
In our game, I think I picked up a book that was of gnomish spells, but maybe if I investigated it hard enough, it turns out that it's actually about dwarven cooking recipes, and I just looked the same.
Right.
Just looked that way. And also, a way that you have your characters potentially be able to obfuscate things themselves if they are on the run. If they are being tracked by people trying to use some of, like, maybe illusionary magic or prestidigitation to slightly alter things without it being real noticeable, to try and throw people off. Because they do give you a lot of options for that, especially in D&D.
Sure. And I think it's even more interesting without utilizing the illusion magic, for instance, or enchantment magic, because then it's actually like, wait, something weird is going on here, and I don't know what, but now I want to find out.
Yeah, I can imagine characters that I play, like, actually, Dr. McFly would probably be one like this, where every time he's in London, purposefully saying something that is mispronounced or misremembered to try and get it to, like, be mimetic through the society. Like, his workshop was the danger zone.
Right.
But but the idea of him saying that his workshop is not called that.
It's called the danger area.
Yeah, exactly. It's called danger area. And so that purposefully people, when they start talking about it, if it gets any kind of notoriety, have trouble finding it on an actual map, because it's going to say danger zone on that map, so that it can protect him from people that might be trying to steal his ideas.
Well, that's another one too. Maps you could use as well. Perhaps you have a map and then you swap it out with one slightly different later.
Yeah.
Because that's another actual Mandela Effect thing, is people apparently don't think New Zealand is where it's supposed to be on the map.
Yeah, it's. I imagine that there are people that think that it's either above Australia or, like, below Australia.
Yeah, I don't remember the specifics, but yeah. Another one is also people don't realize or don't believe that the Pacific Ocean used to cover, or does cover rather, most of the entire hemisphere. Like,
Yeah.
97% of that side of the planet is ocean.
Oh, yeah. If you think that the Atlantic is big, you haven't seen the Pacific yet.
If you think the Atlantic Ocean is big, you haven't seen an ocean yet.
Yeah. It's like, it's the Crocodile Dundee looking at the Atlantic and then the Pacific. That's not an ocean. That's an ocean.
Yeah. So that's one too, and it's like, I don't know. Maybe you should look at a map. I assume it would be if they're looking at flat maps versus globes. They don't realize it, because obviously a flat map is not. We could do a whole episode on map projections if you wanted to sometime, which I don't think we should do.
No.
There's a great Vsauce episode about that from years ago. But yeah, different map projections will display land masses and things in different proportions than their actual size and scale.
Right.
Just because of how you have to do a round object on a flat surface.
Exactly. And so there are some very large land masses that don't necessarily look that big when it's...
Like Greenland.
Yeah, Greenland usually never looks as big on a flat map as it does when you get a globe out.
No, it's big.
It's big.
And Africa's also huge.
Yeah, much bigger than the flat maps will make it look. Yeah. And also, if you really wanted to, if you flip the map around, it's still technically right, because...
What, like upside down?
Yeah, you just flip it. Flip it
yeah.
upside down. Because...
Well, I mean, that's another great one, too, is the original blue marble image, of the Earth from space is inverted.
Oh.
It is
because
rotated.
Yeah.
Because of the poles.
Right.
The original picture was taken where our North Pole, as it were, is on the bottom. And they rotated it because people associate north with up.
Got it. Yeah.
That's not necessarily a Mandela effect, but it is a thing.
It's an illusionary yeah. I mean, realistically, if you were in space...
Doesn't matter.
And you circled around... Yeah, if you circle around, you wouldn't...
If you're in space, your orientation is up is whatever way is above you.
Yeah, exactly. So at that point, the Earth can be in many, many different directions. These ideas of this is north, this is south is completely irrelevant.
Right.
Yeah, exactly.
So I was thinking of this over the last night while we were discussing, like, figuring out what we're going to do for this episode. And I was like, this would be a good one. This would be an interesting one to just kind of, if you, excuse me, if you wanted to run a game where you're throwing strange things at the players or having a little bit of a mystery involved, perhaps, or just some weird coincidence or happenstance or things of that nature, this could be a really interesting plot point where you could just do something as a side plot, as it were, but have it actually have major implications on the story.
Right, absolutely. A good way to actually use investigation skills, I think, too, especially if you're doing something where you have investigators or inspectors, it can be a lot of fun because it's super subtle, but they're going to get super rewarded for the idea that they actually sussed out something so specific, so small. Right. And in similar fashion, can be a really good way for players or parties to use as a way of trying to confuse or to try and slough off tension that they otherwise don't want to have.
Right.
So, very good. Thank you for bringing that up. Thank you for explaining to me that there may or may not be a sun with sunglasses out there.
There may or may not be. Actually, it's probably the emoji at this point, but...
I think that's what's probably throwing off a lot of people. Also...
Emojis tend to.
Yeah, also raisins typically do not have sunglasses.
Yeah, raisins typically don't have anything.
You know what I'm starting...
They're
dead. And shriveled up and sad. They don't play saxophone either. But, you know what I'm starting to think to myself, though? I just thought about the Kool-Aid Man when I started thinking about sunglasses. And I'm like, wait, I don't think that the Kool-Aid Man had sunglasses either.
Some versions of him might, but I don't think he normally does.
No. I think it's just the real horror of the idea that a big carafe of Kool-Aid has eyes.
Well, also, the liquid inside of him is obviously his blood.
Yes, and it can spill out from the top very easily.
Yeah.
But hey, you know what? The Kool-Aid Man is an abomination of nature, so we just kind of...
Yeah.